Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Mega Movie Monday.
Mega Movie Monday. Yes, we are back. How you doing, Henry?
Pretty good, Felix. That's right. This is Mega Movie Monday with Henry and Felix, where we talk about mega movies.
What is a mega movie, Henry? Tell me.
Well, I'm glad you asked. A mega movie is any movie that the two of us feel is worth discussing. Doesn't have to be new or old, doesn't have to be well known or obscure, doesn't have to be even good or bad. Just a movie we both really want to talk about.
Yeah.
And
cool.
This week, I think this is the first time we're posting a second episode in 1 week, so I believe that's the plan here. So it's not gonna technically be a Mega Movie Monday, but that's okay. Probably most people will watch it on a day that isn't Monday anyway, so I don't think it really matters. But the reason for that is it's Halloween, and we both really love horror movies, and we wanted Halloween to be like a horror movie month. So to get more movies in there, we're going to do 2 episodes a week. That's the plan, at least.
That is, I think, an awesome plan. Halloween is definitely, Halloween and fall are definitely my favorite times of the year. I mean, I don't know. I like shitty weather. I like the changing of the leaves. I don't know what other weird shit I can say about fall, but there's a general pumpkins, just general kind of, I don't know, it seems like people are a little looser in this month compared to other holidays. Like, I don't know, I think like Halloween isn't really like a holiday where like your family comes and all that, or like a bunch of relatives, so people are kind of more relaxed in October and kind of just adjusting to winter. They're getting that pre-depression, so I don't know, I think people are just a lot cooler and just better in October. So and that is geez, movies, cinema, horror cinema, Halloween movies, these themed amazing pieces of art. Dude, how can we just do 1 episode a week? Fuck, I think we should do one maybe even every day, because there's so many awesome horror movies to talk about. And boy, do we got one for you today. I think it's a great way to kick it off.
Yeah, okay. And this is your choice. We're going back over to you. Last one was me. Now it's back to you.
What was the last one? The last one you picked was Sucker Punch.
Yes, it was.
All right. So is this episode 5 then? Yeah. It is 5.
Yeah,
Cell, Ravenous, Place Beyond the Pines, Sucker Punch, and then number 5. And what is number 5? I wonder. I've been leaving subtle hints ever since the first video. It's been something that's been in the background on my movie shelf. I've kind of kept propped out because I've been wanting to talk about this film forever, and the season is right and the time is right, and oh my goodness, it is very near and dear to my heart. I'm all fanboyed out today. Kevin Smith's Tusk.
There it is, with the man's signature and everything.
Signed it. Yep. That's I'm a huge Kevin Smith geek. I'm a fanboy. Like I'm a Kevin Smith like cultist almost. Like I love this dude. He's been a big inspiration to me, not just in his filmmaking, but his podcasting, his live shows. I mean, everything this guy does is for his fans and for the things he loves, and I really respect that. I think he's a great guy.
Yeah, he was one of the only, like, not just filmmakers to really get into podcasting. He was like one of the first, wasn't he?
He was. He heard about a podcast that Ricky Gervais, actually his buddy Scott Mosier, who he co-hosts Smodcast with, told him about this internet radio show with Ricky Gervais, and they were like, well, we can fucking do this. Like all you have to do is sit down and talk. Like, that'd be awesome. Like, you know, like once a week you just come over and we'll catch up, because we never have time to do that anymore, and we'll just see what people think of our conversations. And that was 10 years ago. It's almost 10 years. It's just over 10 years to the month. I think we're a month overdue, but they just celebrated their 10-year anniversary.
Wow.
So, I mean, and that just goes to show it was just 2 guys sitting down talking. And 10 years later, I mean, Jesus, they're one of the best podcasts of all time, if not the best podcast of all time.
And hundreds of thousands followed in their wake, you and I among them.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I mean, they just made it sound like it was so easy, and it is. It's so easy. All you have to do is put aside a little time. And I mean, that's it. I mean, the equipment, you can go as heavy duty as you want. Like, I don't know, I have cheap shit, but it works. I dig it. It's just something we can do.
Yeah, just have fun with it.
Absolutely.
And yeah, and podcasting is essential to the movie we're talking about today. So I think that's a nice way of guiding into it, because I think really the place to start with Tusk is kind of the origin of the idea itself, which is
Yes.
very specific to Smodcast.
Absolutely. This film for me is like an independent filmmaker, a guerrilla filmmaker, just anyone who's interested in film. It's like a dream come true for them. This is a movie that very much just started as a conversation between two friends. It was episode 259 of Smodcast. Kevin Smith and Scott Mosier were sent. They were just doing some research. They do this weekly segment about Canadian news, Canadian, crimes. It's not weekly, but it's every other podcast, or maybe one in every 4.
Okay, I didn't know this. All right, so this is filling me in a little bit.
Okay, cool, dude. I'm an encyclopedia on these guys, just about. So they found this really weird want ad that was. I should have pulled it up. I wish I would have prepared a little bit more. It would have been fun to read the whole thing. But basically, they found this want ad where this person is offering free room and board at their residence. All the person who wants to live there has to do is do the chores and the upkeep, because he describes that he's disabled and he can't do them himself. And then one other requirement, and this is where things kind of get odd. One requirement is that you will have to, I think it was 1 hour every week, you will have to get inside of a walrus costume and be a companion walrus to me. And it's like that's it. Like, he leaves his phone number, and it's like, oh my God.
Yeah. And it for Scott Mosier and Kevin Smith, it really sparked their imaginations, and they started imagining essentially this horror film based around that idea. And I think it turned out that the ad was actually a hoax, but they didn't know it at the time.
Right.
And so yeah, Kevin Smith and Scott Mosier just started joking around, imagining this horror movie. And Kevin Smith was apparently so inspired by the idea that he just basically reached directly out to his fan base and said, "Hey, I would really like to see a movie like this. Would you guys like to see a movie like this? If so, reach out to me on Twitter and just say #walrus yes if you're in favor of it, or #walrus no if you're not in favor of it." And he received many, many responses saying walrus yes. So what started out as just kind of a gag between two friends, he started thinking, like, maybe I could actually do this as a real movie.
Right.
And almost as an experiment, or just, as a gag, or just for fun, essentially, he started writing a script. And next thing he knew, he had a completed script. And then he started looking for a cast. Next thing he knew, he had an entire cast all lined up.
Yep.
And then he started looking for money. And next thing he knew, he had the budget set, and he was making Tusk. And that is essentially the idea behind it, only taken in a more extreme direction. This is a movie about a podcaster played by Justin Long, who travels to Canada in search of, interesting stories or strange stories for his podcast. Stumbles upon this guy who kind of lives in a mansion in the middle of nowhere, played by Michael Parks, who says, hey, who basically just, puts an advertisement out there that Justin Long discovers on the wall of a bathroom in a bar. Yes. Saying, hey, I've got some interesting stories to share. So Justin Long heads up there, starts listening to this guy's incredible stories about being at sea and meeting Hemingway, and being rescued by a walrus after he was shipwrecked, and this close bond that he formed with the walrus. And very quickly, things take a sinister turn. It turns out his plan is that he is going to drug Justin Long, which he does. Justin Long wakes up and he realizes that the ultimate goal here is that Michael Parks is going to surgically alter his body and then sew him inside a walrus costume so that he can be his walrus buddy, Mr. Tusk.
I mean, who doesn't want to see that? I mean, who wouldn't want to watch that? I mean, unfortunately, as it turned out, many people didn't want to watch this after they did. Unfortunately, this one was flayed alive, almost as torturous as, you know, having walrus a costume sewed onto your skin. Like, this movie went through the ringer with critics, but I think it's a fantastic choice for Mega Movie Monday. I think it's an excellent ode to horror filmmaking, and I think it's an unbelievably inspiring story to independent filmmakers.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, it's definitely got a very unique story behind it. Very unusual, and yeah, I think indeed very inspiring to anybody who wants to just go out and make a movie that it's kind of a thing that's meant to show you, like, hey, the only barriers are just, you know, whatever you're going to put on yourself. Like, if you have a wild idea, just go out and do it.
Do it, man.
And that's what he did here. And I don't think the critical reaction was that bad. But I'm sure
not as bad as Yoga Hosers, I guess. But
oh, was that pretty bad? That was the follow-up.
Oh, man, yeah, Yoga Hosers. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, further on down the road. But yeah,
so I guess first off, we should just just get into our own reactions to the movie.
Yeah,
I had never seen it. This is one that you had seen a couple times, I'm guessing.
Yeah. I missed it theatrically. It had a really small run. I think it played one night here in Portland. But anyway, wow. I knew about it and I really wanted to watch it. And I didn't really hear about it until after it came out. I was a Kevin Smith fan at the time, but I just wasn't really actively like researching his films and all that. I knew I liked him, but I mean, it wasn't until a couple years after I saw more of his films recently that they really stuck with me. And that's when I kind of became like a massive Kevin Smith fan. But yeah, when I first saw this, I was blown away. I didn't ever listen to the podcast, so I didn't really know what that was all about. But I still really enjoyed Tusk, and that's what made me want to start listening to Smodcast. I think it's the only film in history that probably says that opens with based on a podcast. Or
does it open that way?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a credit there, or maybe it's even an ending credit. But I'm sure
it even begins appropriately enough when you hear just kind of like two guys like just and stoned laughter, you know, right. As two guys just doing a podcast together and just like watching silly crazy videos on the internet.
Right.
It's like this is a movie that is fully acknowledging where it's coming from.
Absolutely. It's not trying to hide anything. There's no smoke and mirrors. It's very upfront with what it is. And I think that's one thing I really loved about it. This film, it wasn't trying to be something it wasn't. Like it took itself seriously, which I loved, but it didn't take itself so seriously that you couldn't have fun with it and you couldn't laugh at it. It's more of a black comedy than, you know, anything. It's a black comedy mixed with horror, and it's subdued at the beginning, sort of. It's subdued for Kevin Smith, and then like towards the middle, you find this climax, you find this twist in the story that is really sinister and really dark and really chilling. And that's where the horror comes in. It's just this really disturbing idea. But yeah, this movie blew me away when I first saw it. I absolutely loved it. And I just, after that, I was like, okay, I gotta start doing more research on Kevin Smith and all these podcasts and what the hell is all this. But yeah, I love
I lost you for a second. Sorry.
Oh, shoot.
Okay, it's all good now.
The internet, it could be my internet. I don't know. It's been weird since I've moved to the new place, if anyone hasn't noticed.
But I'll be joining you up there fairly soon.
That's what I'm hoping for. It's a big place, so lots of room for everyone. That's not really the case, but it's a lot nicer of a place than I was living, so I'm very, very excited. Yeah, hopefully you'll be up here, and we won't have to do this. Well, I'm grateful for this technology, but I'd much rather, you know, let's be in a room together, maybe sit on some couches because I'm tired of this office chair, and I would very much like to do this in reality, not so much through cyberspace magic that I don't understand.
But
anyway, back on track. The last thing I said before you told me we were cut off, I don't know if these guys heard it or not, but I was trying to get you to watch this for a long time. I watched this This movie came out, 2014, and here it is, the tail end of 2017. You're finally watching it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I surprisingly I found this movie a little difficult to find. I didn't find it available to stream anywhere.
Really?
I figured like, oh, my local library probably has a copy or something. Didn't find it there.
Dude,
Yeah,
I did not know that.
Yeah, it was a real convenience for me because you came down here to visit and you brought your
Yes.
Blu-ray with you.
I
It's
did.
like, I better watch this while it's here because this will probably be my only opportunity. And yeah, I
I
watched
think it was on Netflix at one point in time.
Was it?
I think it was when it first came out.
Okay.
Because like Netflix, dude, did your toilet break?
There's like a water pipe right behind this wall next to my head.
Nice, I love it. So every time somebody takes a dump, you're the first to know.
Yep, I get a
Yeah. Don't go chasing waterfall. Anyway, so back to what I was saying back on the farm. I don't even really know what I was saying. That waterfall was really distracting.
Yeah. Gotta just power through. So yeah, I was saying this was the first time.
Oh, it's hard
I'd
to
ever seen it.
find. Yeah, it's super hard to find. But I think it was briefly on Netflix. Netflix went through a period where they were showing lots of Kevin Smith movies. Jay and Silent Bob was on there. Clerks was on there. I don't think Clerks 2 was on there, but I think Zack and Miri may have even been on there if I remember correctly. And then like the Jay and Silent Bob animated movie.
Oh yeah, and I think Yoga Hosers is currently available to stream
Yoga
on Netflix.
Hosers totally on Netflix.
Which is Tusk turned out to be the first part in a trilogy, a Canadian trilogy that Kevin Smith has made.
Called the True North Trilogy.
Yes.
Yeah.
It began with Tusk, was followed by Yoga Hosers, and is going to conclude with Moose Jaws in the near future, I'm guessing.
And if you're wondering what Moose Jaws is, it's Jaws, but with a moose.
Hey, simple enough.
Simple enough. Yeah, so this kicked off a trilogy of films. But before we get into the trilogy, let's talk about the movie. Geez, I know we've been talking about the movie, but I really want to break this down. It's the first time in Mega Movie Monday history I took notes. All right. So yeah, I have some stuff to unpack. I have some stuff to say.
Okay.
Go ahead. Just some themes I know. I guess looking at this, I wrote down themes. I didn't really write down too much technical stuff.
That's fine.
I took like 2 technical notes, but I wrote down a little bit of trivia of the film and mainly just themes I picked up on that I really liked.
Okay.
So going from the very beginning of the movie, as you said, it opens with 2 guys laughing their asses off on this podcast show, and it's called the Not-See Party. Not Nazi, like bad Nazi, but Notsee, cleverly named because 1, you cannot see them, and 2, in their show, one of the hosts goes and travels, and then he comes back and tells the stories to the guy who cannot see them. So the Not-See Party, clever, edgy. I think
especially these days, unfortunately.
These days in 2014, man, that was a Wild West. But here in 2017, this joke would have been really ill received. But the thing is, it is funny because Nazis kind of have a reoccurring theme in the True North trilogy. That's besides the point.
Oh yeah, what little I know of Yoga Hosers. Okay, yeah, that just clicked. I never realized before.
It's just, a weird theme. I don't know. Kevin Smith never really talked about Nazis so much in his podcast, so I don't know where this is coming from. But
this is a step in a pretty different direction for him.
Oh right, absolutely. I mean, this was following Red State, which was a huge,
right. Okay.
Right, very different from Kevin Smith. I mean, he had taken on, some serious elements in almost all of his films, except like Jay and Silent Bob, like Chasing Amy is based on some, pretty real life stuff. Jersey Girl, definitely, based on real life emotion. So you have Red State, which is, just out of the blue, like a horror film, which we're not really sure what to say about that because, as Kevin Smith, we know, typically comedies, there's some thematic elements in there, but mainly they're comedies. So, wow, Red State, this is serious. This is weird. What's going on here? And that was even before that with Cop Out. That was also kind of a weird, turn for Kevin Smith because it was the first thing he directed that he never wrote.
Yeah, like his first kind of like just studio for hire project, essentially.
Right, and it didn't go very well for him. He hated that. So then I think after that one, he officially said he's going to retire from filmmaking, and then came Zack and Miri, he like came out of retirement and made like Zack and Miri, and then
Really? I thought
go
like
ahead.
Cop Out. I thought Zack and Miri was '08, and then Cop Out was 2010.
Was that it? Am I getting that
Yeah.
confused? Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah. Zack and Miri, and then Cop Out. And Cop Out, once that one got, went, boy, that one got really killed by critics. I'm sorry, I can't think of a better way to put that. But it was filleted alive. It was torturous. That's when he was like, dude, I'm done. Like, I'm not. I don't want to do these anymore. And
Yeah,
then
he kind of I think first with Red State, he decided like, I'm going to try something different. I'm going to try and put it out directly to the audience and
right.
not screen it for critics, try a different distribution method. And I guess Red State, he tried something with it, but I guess maybe it didn't quite go the way he
Was Red
wanted it.
2012?
I think it was 2011.
Was it 2011? Okay, got it.
Yeah. But I don't know too much about it, but from what I've gathered, it didn't turn out quite the way he wanted with how he wanted to get it out there.
Right.
And then yeah, just with the endless frustrations he'd been dealing with, he just kind of decided, I don't really want to make films anymore.
Right.
Kind of didn't do anything for a couple of years, and then yeah, just in a spur of the moment, kind of fell into Tusk, and it reignited, his passion for filmmaking.
Right. Absolutely. It's so anyway, back to the themes. So it opens with this podcast, and the thing I like about the podcasting scene is like it does have that edgelord kind of humor that shows kind of how cruel the internet can be. Like, here are two guys. I mean, it opens with them talking about this kid who accidentally cut off his own leg, and then that video went viral. Like, he was like trying to do some sword tricks in a video. He put it on YouTube, and I mean, it went viral, and he was deemed, the Kill Bill kid. I mean, it kind of opens like, yeah, showing that the internet, like, it's definitely a harsh place.
Yeah, that was a. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, like, the one thing I love about this film is like it builds some characters that you really don't like. Like, the main character is really unlikable.
I wrote that down too. I was surprised. Like, this guy is actually, he's not, just the goofy, likable Justin Long hero. Like, this guy, he's kind of unpleasant in a lot of ways.
Really unpleasant. Not only just for like making fun of, someone like that, like a kid who accidentally cuts off his own leg. Turns out, Justin Long goes up to Canada to go to visit the kid and interview him for the show. He kills himself. So it's like and it's just kind of like, oh, that's kind of a weird theme to kind of open with, like, why should I like this guy? Like, why do I care about anything he's doing? Because he's really kind of a prick. And like, you see the way he interacts with his girlfriend, who he cheats on and just kind of fucks. And his friend, he doesn't, it seems like his friend is just more of like a business partner than really like something real there. It's like, wow, like, this guy is really super unlikable. Like, Justin Long plays this, the guy's name is Wallace, and it's like,
Wallace,
just plays him like
appropriately enough.
Yep, Wallace. Anyway, but basically, yeah, that's, you don't see that all the time. A main character that you really, really hate and don't like, and really isn't very redeeming. Like, at no point do you ever kind of root for him,
Yeah, it's a risky thing to do. I was very surprised by that, but I was also really interested by how Smith balanced the scenes that were taking place in the house with Michael Parks.
I wrote that down too.
Yeah, with Justin Long's character being held prisoner,
right?
And the movie's structured in a way where kind of once we get into the house, we have flashbacks, kind of exploring more of his past and what led him to this point,
right?
And it's kind of interesting the way the movie pulls you back and forth emotionally in that way, because when he's in the house and he's stuck there and things just get more and more twisted and awful for him, you do care for him. You really feel like, oh man, as ridiculous as it is, like, the actors are not playing it ironically, like they're selling it, and you really feel like, oh my god, I hope this guy gets out of here. What a horrible position to be in. And then we go to the flashbacks, and it's like, oh wow, he isn't a likable guy at all. I don't really like this character. Then we go back to the house, and it's like, again, we're just in that immediately. It's like, oh Jesus, how's he going to get out of this?
Yeah, so, right, exactly. That's a really good way to put it. It was just like, like, yeah, you hate him so much when nothing bad's happening to him, when he's just kind of victimizing the people around him and just being a cruel douchebag. And then we flip that. You get that huge contrast and shift in tone. And all of a sudden, it's like, it kind of tests like the way you feel for a second. It's like, I know this guy isn't a good person, but I really don't want to see this happen to him.
Yeah,
Like nobody deserves this to happen to them, like no matter how bad they are. And yeah, it's genius. And I think that's a theme that a lot of people didn't really pick up on. That this film, it isn't trying to be your best friend. It isn't trying to be something super, super likable. It's not a crowd pleaser. It's different. It's unique. It's really, really odd, and I praise it for that. I mean, it just, this isn't a film that, like I said, it's just fan service. I mean, yeah, of course, his fans who watch, or listen to Smodcast, of course, you're gonna be like, I want to see that. That sounds amazing. But I think we got a lot more than we bargained for. I think I was expecting it to be not very good, and it just, because how can it be good? It's such a stupid, silly idea. Look where it came from. How can this be a good movie? And I got sucker punched. No pun intended. But I got sucker punched. I was like, holy shit! Like, fuck! Like, Tusk is like, I think Kevin Smith's deepest movie since Chasing Amy, or Clerks 2 at least. I mean, it, like, basically, like, with everything they're seeing in the relationship. So Justin Long's girlfriend is like broken apart, man. She's really distraught because she's realized that he's not the same person he was. We learned that he used to be a nice kid. He was really shy and cute and goofy and funny, and had a really good sense of humor. And he was a failing stand-up comic. So as his stand-up was getting way, way worse, he started podcasting and became really famous. I mean, he said, like, I think at one point they say, like, he made $100,000 last year and just advertisement sales alone. It's like he's changed, and now he's cruel, and he makes fun of people who are victimized, and makes fun of people who are bullied, and takes advantage of people.
He's rewarded for being the worst possible person, so he just kind of has been following that road more and more devotedly.
And I think it says a lot too about how the general mainstream audience of internet users kind of reacts. I mean, we love clickbaity stuff. We love sex tapes. We love, shootings. We love violence. Like, we love all this really cruel stuff.
Humiliation.
Exactly. Especially like on Reddit, for example. There's a subreddit, a whole page of the site dedicated to a topic called Roast Me, where somebody just posts a picture of themselves and a little note that says Roast Me, and the internet just takes shots at them, just trying to insult them and make them feel the worst way they can. And it's insanely popular. I mean, it's really, really popular, the Roast Me section. So it's like,
and sadly, that's probably one of the better examples, because it's consensual in that setting.
Yeah, it's like you're asking for abuse. You want to partake in your own abuse, and it's something that is really odd, and we want to watch them do that. So I think this film says a lot about that with these podcasters. I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's sort of like the journey the character goes on. It's like once he becomes the victim, suddenly he's forced to learn empathy.
Yes, exactly. I mean, and it's funny because when the film opens, we learn that the kid cuts his leg off. He's like, dude, he got his video got more views than mine did last week. Like, well, someone should cut my fucking leg off. Like, I don't need both my legs. Like, dude, if I can get like more views, like, let's do it. Like, I don't care. And like, oddly enough, ironically enough, like, he starts off losing a leg, and then
that's the first thing that happens to him. Yeah, and it's not funny when it happens to him.
No, it's not fucking funny at all. He's freaking out. He's drugged up. He's drooling. He's screaming. Justin Long plays it really well too. It's really realistic.
He's really good. Yeah, I was surprised how well he sold that role. He was
it was
throwing
incredible.
himself into it. Yeah.
I'm sorry, my cell phone's going off. I'm trying to silence it.
So thank you.
It's my dad just asking me if I'm still alive.
Okay.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. Anyway, yes. Go ahead. I'm sorry I interrupted you, but I didn't want the cell phone to.
Oh, I was just concurring, really. I was very impressed by Justin Long's performance. It's like you said, it's an idea that started out as a joke, and I think when you watch it, you do expect a movie that is played as nothing more than a joke.
Right.
Sort of like what Kung Fury was. Do you know that one?
I know Kung Fu Hustle. I'm not sure about Kung Fury.
Not quite the same thing. Kung Fury was like it was a Kickstarter that happened a couple years ago. This guy who was like, I think, a special effects designer and a filmmaker or something. Right. He kind of pitched this crazy idea on Kickstarter, I believe it was, of a cop who's a martial arts expert that travels back in time to stop Hitler, and it takes place in the 80s. And he raised like $1 million for this
Holy
idea.
Shit.
Yeah, and he turned it into like a 40-minute short film. He like shot it all in front of a green screen, and yeah, just it created this incredibly ambitious and completely ridiculous.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it. He created this ridiculous, comedic, and ambitious vision, basically all on his own. And like it got picked up by El Rey, Robert Rodriguez's network. It plays on there.
Way.
Yeah. And a lot of people saw it, and a lot of people really liked it. And it's available to watch for free from the guy himself on YouTube, if anyone wants to see it.
Wow, that's fantastic. I got to write that down. Kung Fury?
Yes, yeah.
Cool ass idea. See, that's like the stuff that I really, really, really love. That's the stuff that gets me excited. I think that's why I love Kevin Smith so much, because he shows how much you can do with little. Like, you know, like it's the minimalist style that's been throughout his entire career. And I mean, that's not a slight. That's not me saying he's a shitty filmmaker. Like he doesn't have a bunch of money. He does as much as he can with as little as possible. And that is like big for me. I mean, I'm not rich. I don't have any fucking money. I can barely pay my internet. But at the same time, I'm still trying to generate ideas. I'm still trying to make movies. I'm still trying to even like doing this show. I mean, it's like these guys inspire me to keep going, you know, just keep trying, keep writing, keep practicing. So yeah, it's definitely I love hearing about things like that. So Kung Fury, I'm definitely going to check this out.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the thing for me is I agree. It is a really inspiring idea. And yeah, I do love the fact that it's just this thing that this guy put together basically on his own.
Right.
But unfortunately, like in execution for Kung Fury, it didn't quite work for me. Like, I guess I feel like when you do a really crazy idea like that, you don't want to push the irony too hard. You don't want to like be constantly saying for me at least, this is how I react to stuff like this. I don't want the movie constantly to be trying to tell me it's all a joke. We're not really serious. And I felt like Kung Fury did that a little bit too much. I mean, it's only 40 minutes long, and there's no reason not to watch it. But the way I reacted to it is like, you know, I just wish the guy had just been more straight-faced with it. I think it would have been a lot more fun.
And I think that's why a lot of Kevin Smith's movies work, because most of them are crazy ideas, but they're done in a way that's really realistic. It doesn't make fun of itself constantly.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
You know, and that's what it is about Tusk. Like, there is funny elements. There are funny elements to this film. There are jokes in this movie. But at the same time, it takes itself serious. I mean, with an idea this crazy, I mean, you think that you can only go Kung Fury style and just keep making fun of yourself. But really, that's not what we get here with Tusk. You know, Tusk tries and succeeds to me at being a film, at not being a joke, not being, you know, just this is just a podcast movie. This is just a silly little flick. Like, it tries to do as much as it can with as little as possible. And I think it towers. I love this movie because of that.
I had kind of a mixed reaction to it, but I will say, like, for an idea like this, I think it was about as well done as it could have possibly been done.
I'm not saying it's perfect. There are segments in this film that I feel... There was one scene in particular I felt went on a little bit too long. There was an exchange of dialogue. I was like, well, this could have maybe been like 15, 30 seconds shorter. Like,
I think we may be actually thinking of the same scene, because I actually wrote down the same note, and I'm imagining we probably are thinking of the same scene here.
Hit me with it, because I want to see if it is.
Well, there's a rather interesting. Is it a cameo or an uncredited supporting performance from a major name in this movie?
Right. There's a history behind this character that let me unpack real fast.
Okay.
So, as you said, a very famous actor, one of the most, if not like top 3 most famous actors of all time, I'd definitely say. Anyway, so when Kevin Smith was doing a podcast before this one, there was a funny Canadian article about this illegal operation. It was almost like a cartel for maple syrup in Canada. These guys were like stealing maple syrup trucks and selling it, like this maple syrup mafia. And the leading investigator of the police on this case, his name was Guy Lapointe. And
wow, I had not heard any of this, so this is all
really
new to me. Yeah,
yeah, it's a great fucking episode. But this leading investigator, he's a French investigator, French Canadian. His name is Guy Lapointe, and he's like when they read his quotes from the article, like he's taking it so serious. Like this is for him. This is like just any great like detective. Like this is their rosebud. This is like their case. And this Guy Lapointe guy
like
in this
for
article,
him, he's in a Scorsese movie busting the mafia.
Exactly. Oh man, he is like, yeah, like this guy is taking this maple syrup mafia really seriously. Like he's really like investigating and really investing himself in the job. And it's just awesome. And that name too, that name is awesome. Guy Lapointe. So when Kevin Smith was writing Tusk, he wanted to be like, well, there has to be cops. Like, the girlfriend and his friend have to, call cops. The cops don't really take it too serious, but they know of this detective, and his name is Guy Lapointe. Originally, this role was written for Quentin Tarantino.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I heard about that.
Are very, very good friends, and he wrote this. He wrote this. He didn't tell Quentin anything. He just wrote it and said to him, saying, "Hey, I wrote this role for you. Read the script. What do you think?" Apparently, Tarantino loved the script, but he said, "Fuck no, I'm not going to be in it. I'm not going to be Guy Lapointe." So then, like,
I think he said he's no longer acting, so
something like that. Yeah, I mean, he was a little bit nicer than that. But I went and saw Kevin Smith live a couple months ago, and that's how he exactly told it. He just said Quentin Tarantino said, "Fuck no."
Okay.
So I mean, but anyway, so that's straight from the man himself. But anyway, so his daughter, Kevin Smith's real life daughter, goes to school with Johnny Depp's daughter. And Johnny Depp and Kevin Smith are brief acquaintances. I think he says Johnny Depp lives like 2 houses down from where Kevin Smith lives, or 2 houses up. So yeah, he has a house there. Let's just put it that way. But anyway, they're friends, and he approached Johnny just out of the blue saying, "Hey, what do you think about this script? And what do you think about this character?" And apparently, Kevin Smith sent it over to him, and 2 hours later, Johnny Depp called him and was reading Guy Lapointe's monologue in this crazy accent. Like the accent you hear in the movie is the accent that Johnny Depp was using when he called Kevin Smith. And Kevin was like, "This is absolutely amazing. This is like the best thing. Like, oh my God, like, you're going to do it?" And he was like, "Yeah, like, let's fucking do this." So he got Johnny Depp just like that. Apparently Johnny loved the character, and Kevin loved what he did with it. And they there's a really subtle thing about Guy Lapointe's nose. They put a big vein through it, but it's really faint. You can barely see it. But there's like a blue vein on his nose to make it look like a dick. On set, Johnny, once he had the prosthetic applied, he asked Kevin if they could put a small little like dimple at the end of the nose to make it look like a dickhead. And like Kevin was like, "Dude, that's amazing." Like he goes, like, "Usually like I kind of just have my vision on this stuff," but he goes like, "I will take that suggestion. We will do that. Like that is awesome." So I mean, Johnny Depp was really invested in the role. I mean, he was really into it. And yeah, his opening scene is a little long.
Yeah.
But I think it's just because of the way it originated. Like, it just, for Kevin Smith to see that on screen, like just this crazy idea, and then Johnny Depp calls him like 2 hours after he read the script. So like obviously he read the script. Like how cool is that? And then like I think that's why that scene went on for so long, just because it's like, dude, you did it, man. Like look at this. Like this is amazing.
Yeah, I think you're right there. When I watched the movie, just kind of going into it basically blind, I knew, I'd heard about the idea. I think I'd seen the trailer, but I didn't really know too much. I think I knew Johnny Depp was in it, and he goes uncredited.
He does go uncredited.
Yeah, it's kind of, I believe at least for a while, it was sort of a secret that he was even in the movie.
Right. Well, I don't think they wanted to lean on that as a crutch. I don't think they wanted to be like Johnny Depp in Kevin Smith's movie. Like, I don't think they wanted to, because honestly, more people probably would have seen it. Probably maybe even would have gotten a theatrical run. Who knows? Like a real one. But that's really, I think, bold that they chose to not let pretty much anyone know he was in it.
Yeah, I agree.
Nuts. And he's like one of the most famous actors in the world. I mean, he's definitely one of the highest paid. I mean, geez, dude, he's in everything. He's in those stupid pirate movies. He's in the new Harry Potter spinoff, The Fantastic Beasts.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
dude, but he's in like 10 seconds of it. It's bullshit, fucking bullshit. Anyway, he was in that that Willy Wonka flick, and then he was in that robot flick, and then he was in
every Tim Burton movie.
Then he was in, he's just a huge actor. This dude is massive. Did I say Alice in Wonderland? I mean, he's in Alice in Wonderland. He's the Mad Hatter.
Tim Burton.
Oh yeah, did he do the second one too?
No, someone else did.
Okay, cool. So it still works.
Yeah.
But it's like, dude, he's massive. He's huge. He's been the sexiest man on 10 years in a row. Him and George Clooney jacking off on each other's chests for having that, having their face on that magazine. Anyway,
That's true. All true fact.
All true. I know it for a fact. Did I tell you I'm writing a script about George Clooney and Johnny Depp and like Matt Damon and all this guy? We'll have to talk about that later.
Okay.
Anyway,
you didn't tell me about this. All right, sounds interesting.
This isn't the place. I forget we're on the internet. We'll talk about it in person or when we end the stream. Anywho, so Johnny Depp is in this fucker, dude. He's really in it, and the scene, his opening scene goes on a ways. But I knew more about this film now. Like I've seen this film. I hadn't seen it in about 2 or 3 years. Okay. And then I've learned so much more about it since then. So when I rewatched it this time, I loved it even more because like the stuff I'm telling you now is like the stuff I've only recently within the last year or so learned. So, I mean,
like seeing Kevin Smith live and hearing him
talking about it and then listening to all the Smodcast episodes about it. I mean, like,
okay.
Yeah, I understand way more of it. Yeah. And I've seen Kevin Smith 5 times in the last year. I've went and seen 5 of his shows. So yeah, I mean, it's like, I just want to learn everything I can. But that's besides the point. But so when I watched it this time, like I knew pretty much every joke, like everything that was written, every line almost, like I knew where it came from and what, not almost every line, but all the like the big moments and like the subtle moments, like all the little jokes and the little references to other podcasts and
it's like that. Yeah, it's a very densely packed movie in that way. There is
there's
stuff
Easter eggs or whatever.
Yeah. Stuff pulled from a lot of different sources. And you mentioned Kevin Smith and Johnny Depp's daughters, who are even in the movie as well, as convenience store clerks, which inspired the second part of the True North trilogy.
Which his whole career started with 2 convenience store clerks. It's
that's like, right. I can't believe I forgot about that. But
it's like I mean, there's some layers here, and I like that because when I first saw the film Tusk, I only understood about honestly like maybe 10%. That was maybe like the clerk stuff. I was like, oh, those are like 2 chick clerks. He had 2 dude clerks. Like I didn't even know that was his daughter and Johnny Depp's daughter at the time. I didn't even know that. I didn't even know Johnny Depp was in it. Like,
I
had no idea. Honestly, like when I saw the film, I didn't know that was Johnny Depp. I had a feeling. I'm like, is that fucking Johnny Depp? Like, I don't. Why he would never be in this? Like, why is he in this? I don't think that's him. And then like he went uncredited. Like, so I didn't like after the credits rolled, I didn't get to see him. So I had to like look it up on the internet. But like
and you mentioned, like he's got a lot of makeup and prosthetics,
a lot of makeup, a wig. He's got this really thick accent. Like he's not. I mean, which is every Johnny Depp movie. Now that I think about it, like he's got all this stupid makeup and all these accents, all these characters. Like, really, it's a perfect Johnny Depp movie. I mean, it really is. But it's like, but seeing it now, I really understood like everything about it. So like every little Easter egg, every little joke, I was like, oh shit, like that's where that came from. So it's like, I really loved it this viewing. I really liked it this time around. I mean. And I really forgot, like I truly forgot, not just how good Justin Long is, but Haley Joel Osment is in this movie, and he's really good.
Yeah, who hadn't been, he hasn't really been in many movies last few years.
No, definitely not. And he was a great kid actor, right? I mean, AI was dope.
Yeah.
That's the only one I'm remembering.
Sixth Sense?
Sixth Sense, yeah. Was he in that one with Robin Williams? Or like Robin, why can't I talk? Robin Williams was like a robot, a Bicentennial Man.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't really seen Bicentennial Man.
Dude, that movie fucked me up when I saw it. I was like 8.
Oh,
it's really sad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyway, that's besides the point. But Haley Joel Osment is really good in this. But dude, knocked it out of the. Oh, I shouldn't finish that pun, but knocking it out of the park. Michael Parks, dude. Oh my god, like. He
knocked it out of the park.
Knocked it out of the park, baby. God rest his soul. Talented
that's right.
actor just passed away this year, a couple months ago.
That's right.
But boy, that guy, man, he sells this motherfucker like his life depends on it. Like Michael Parks is like if he isn't well acted, this whole film falls apart.
Yeah.
I mean, he is the cornerstone. He is the balance to this film. If Michael Parks doesn't sell this, I don't think this entire film works. Honestly, I really don't.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, because he's the fucking crazy one. This is the guy who wants to sew a man into a walrus suit made out of human flesh from people he's been killing for like over 10 years. All saved up, all sewn up, making the suit for one person who might one day come into his life. Like this preconceived for decades. Like, I mean, like, it's really this fucked up character,
this
like
psychotic obsession he has.
Yes, and like, you know, rescued by a walrus on a shipwreck island, and then had to kill the walrus to survive. He had to eat the walrus, and it's this pain he's been carrying with him all of his life. This guilt, this shame. Like, you know, like you saved me all the way. Like I had to kill you to continue saving myself. Like this. He feels like he has this debt to pay back to this savior, and it's played so well. Like, oh my god, like Michael Parks sells it, dude.
You can tell Kevin Smith does just adore Michael Parks. Like Red State was sort of like that, where he plays the insane leader of this religious cult, and you can tell just Kevin Smith just wrote these pages and pages of monologues.
These massive monologues.
Yeah, Tusk is very much the same way. Just like just write pages and pages for Michael Parks. Just let him go. And you can tell, which is what I wanted to say about the Johnny Depp scenes too.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I kind of.
Yeah, but no, it's related to the Michael Parks scenes as well, because this is Kevin Smith has always been, you know, a pretty dialogue-driven filmmaker.
Yes.
He's not really about action scenes, you know, or gigantic, expansive stories. He's really just about characters and, you know, exchanges of dialogue.
Right.
That's really where I think his interests lay and his strengths lay. And Tusk is a movie that he gets to show that off. You know, it's an idea that you think like, this is an insane idea. There's no way this could work. But he tries to dig into these characters and he tries to give them a realism, and he casts actors that are committed to the characters and committed to the performances and really try to sell the realism of it. It's an idea that when I saw it for the first time, I was like, I was really surprised that he was taking this thing that could have so easily just been a joke and had almost no real substance to it whatsoever, and he was finding all these clever ways to elaborate on it and draw it in these other directions, and some of them didn't quite work for me, specifically the Johnny Depp stuff. You know, the fact that he's doing an accent, and the fact that those scenes just they go on and on and on. There's a flashback even where the Johnny Depp character talks about a meeting he had with the Michael Parks character, and they're both doing weird voices. Yeah. And that scene just goes on and on and on.
Right.
First time watching it, I was kind of like, gosh, I don't know. I feel like Kevin Smith is maybe a little too in love with his own dialogue here. I would have pulled these scenes back a little bit, but I'm kind of glad I listened to his commentary, his audio commentary on the Blu-ray after that. Because when he talked about it, he didn't even really mention himself so much. He was just like, these two actors are amazing. I love these two guys. I know I should have pulled this scene back a little bit. I know I should have cut it down, but I just loved watching them perform so much. I had to leave it all in. And that kind of changed my perspective on it, where it's like, okay, so it's coming from this place of respect and adoration and just love for the craft of the people that he's working with, which
you don't see that too often.
Yeah. That he really, just because he admires the people he works with so much, he's willing to just like, let's just let them go. Let's just let them show off. Like, why not?
Right. I mean, if Lars von Trier can like break every rule of cinema, you know, if he can break every filmmaking rule, which he does, right? I mean, Lars von Trier, like, if you're like, oh, you can't film it like that because of this aspect, right? He'd be like,
yeah,
the fucking camera, I'll do it. Like, I think Kevin Smith is kind of in that same league of not almost obeying the rules, like letting things go, like having fun, like taking a deep breath and let's let this make itself, kind of, you know, I have this script, let's stick to the script and you guys bring whatever you want to it. Like, I'm not even going to really direct you. Like, I'm just going to kind of mold it all together. It was kind of like the style.
Yeah, it was kind of like the whole drive behind the movie is just kind of like, you know, why not? We're here to have fun. We're here to try
Right.
things and experiment and take risks. So let's just let it happen.
And that's the thing is like it takes itself very serious, but at the same time it takes a lot of risk and it does a lot of things that don't always work. And like I said, I feel like this movie is it's an hour and 47 minutes. I feel like it could very much be a 90-minute movie, you know, or maybe
Yeah,
even less.
yeah.
Like even like a 90-minute cut of this movie. Critically, I mean, I'd watch a 5-hour cut of this movie. So don't take this as like, but then again, I'm really biased. But I think a 90-minute cut of this movie would have been really, really ideal. I think
Yeah,
for the non-SMOD audience, for the non-huge Kevin Smith audience, I think that, you know, a 90-minute cut of this film would have been really fucking crisp and would
yeah.
have maybe done a lot better for audiences. Me,
Yeah,
like I said, I'll watch a 5-hour cut. I don't give a shit. Like I love this flick, but
yeah.
I think
If
I
Kevin's
can objectively say and respectively say it could have been about 17 minutes shorter.
Yeah, if Kevin Smith's ambitions had just been like, how is this best going to play for a wide audience, then
Right.
yeah, it would have been like, let's cut it down to 90 minutes. But I don't think that's really what his ambition for this
Not
film
at all.
was.
Not at all. We're just discussing, you know.
Yeah.
And like I said, I mean, I'll say it again. I'd watch a 12-hour cut. I mean, just the way that Kevin Smith loves to watch his characters, I love to watch Kevin Smith films. So for me, it's like, you know, the longer he lets these guys talk, like I enjoy it. But at the same time, I'm not so like blind in my love that I can't, you know, also be critical of something I enjoy. Just because I think that that's healthy, you know, to be fully obsessed with something and see no faults, like true fanboys do. I just don't think like I'm finding that I'm like everything I loved, I'm liking less and less. Like I don't know if that's just because I'm getting older and like life sucks or what, but it's like, you know, I can be critical of these things, and I'm glad we talked about the same scene in particular. That kind of shows that maybe I'm not completely useless up here. That, you know, that scene went on a little too long, amongst others. So there was a few other patches of dialogue. I was like, okay, we could cut these last couple lines out, but that's just me. That's me wanting to also be a filmmaker and maybe how I would make something. But like you said, his focus was not for widespread acclaim and, you know, the mainstream audience. This was very much suited for a different set of film goers.
Yeah, and you can criticize something, you know, without lessening your love for it at all.
Right.
I think, you know, just because something's flawed, I mean, doesn't mean that it doesn't, you know, speak to you in a really personal way. And in the end, that's the important thing, is kind of like what each individual person's reaction is to a particular film or work of art or whatever it is. What does it mean to you? You know,
yes,
mean it's perfect, doesn't mean it's beyond criticism, but just what does it mean to you? And if you think it's the greatest thing you've ever seen, then, you know, who cares what anyone else thinks? That's what it means to you, right?
I mean, hey, put it on my tombstone. I mean, when I tell people that Point Break is in my top 10 favorite films of all time, like I get made fun of, and like my credibility is just right there. Like people are just like, oh, this guy loves Point Break. Like he can't really be serious about cinema. Like I deal with people like that, and I'm glad they react that way, because I know I'll never talk to that person ever again. Like, but it's like Point Break, fucking love that film. You know what I mean? And it's like, it just, what does it mean to you? How does it affect you? How does it hit you? Yeah.
Just what art is. It's not about
exactly
status.
No, definitely not. And I mean, like you said, like I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and I hate Star Wars. Like I'm probably like the most hateful Star Wars fan ever. Like I love the original trilogy, and everything after that I think has been a complete train wreck. And it's like, and I hate all the like the marketing, and I hate all like the toys, but I mean I still buy the toys because I'm like in the closet geek. But it's like I hate Star Wars. But I love Star Wars so much. I love Star Wars. Like I love. I mean, Jesus, dude. Like look at. Like, I mean, like that's just. I love Star Wars, but I hate Star Wars.
I think it's always better
to be critical sometimes, though.
Yeah,
I mean, you gotta take a look.
It's good to be critical. You don't want to be one of those devoted brainwashed like Michael Parks red state followers. You want to think for yourself, you want to be an individual, but yeah, at the same time I think it's important to embrace the things you love and to love them with abandon, you know, and not care what other people think not care what other people think so much.
That's a really admirable trait, and it's one I'm starting to finally kind of wrap my head around, because for years I would just like what other people tell me to like. Even if I didn't like it, I feel like I couldn't explain that to people. It wasn't really until recently I was like, hey, if you don't like what I have to say and you're going to be shitty about it, fuck off. If you're going to be cool about it, sure, let's talk. Let's debate. I want to hear your viewpoints, but if you're just going to be nasty about it, hit the bricks. Like, I don't care. It's like just trying to find that courage to just like what you like, and then, you know, people with different opinions, people who like different things, get their opinion, listen to them, you know, branch out. You might learn something, unless it's like Nazism or bestiality. Like that's not good stuff. Like no one should be into that.
Yeah, things that are actively harmful to other people. That's not okay.
Exactly. I mean, I would say like that's where I draw the line. But hey, if you're the biggest Michael Bay fan, if Transformers gets your dick harder than any other movie that's out there and you love it, hey, I'll talk to you, man. We can talk about movies. That's cool, you know, that's fine. And if Titanic you think is the best movie of all time, and Titanic is the masterpiece of filmmaking, then hey, buddy, that's you, man. I'm not going to get down on you for that. I might not agree, but hey, that's cool. I'm glad that you get that excited about shitty movies. Like that's awesome. Like
shitty movies.
No, I got to throw my own humor in there, but yeah, and that's how I feel about Kevin Smith. You know, a lot of people, you know, shit on his work and, you know, take shots at him, but I love this dude's work. Even his weaker films. I had a top 10 list, like top 13 or 14 of my Kevin Smith movies, all ranked in order. And I mean, it's like I love this dude's work. I mean, I love the way he makes movies. And Tusk, I think, is one of his best. I know that's kind of crazy because like there's Clerks, Chasing Amy, you know, Clerks 2, which is really, really awesome. I mean, it's just like Dogma. I think Dogma was probably like one of his most popular, but it's like, I think Tusk is definitely like in the top 5. Like, I feel like it's the most Kevin Smith movie. Like after I've met this man. We've had conversations. Like just today, he liked my tweet on Twitter. Like I told him I was watching Tusk and doing it for this marathon, and like he totally like liked my tweet. Like he was like, right on, man. He at least read it. You know, it's like like I don't know. He's a big idol to me, and yeah. So it's just like I love this dude's work, and like this movie feels the most Kevin Smith to me. Like this, it's weird because it's one of his most different, it's one of his most unique, and it's the most unlike I think any of his other work. But I think it's the most Kevin. And I think it's the most relaxed version of Kevin, and that to me is good filmmaking in the sense like I'm getting a sense for kind of what this director is feeling and what he's talking about. I'm getting these themes, like I'm picking up on the contrasting humor and horror and sadness that kind of all blends in there. It works, dude, and it mainly works because one, yes, the dialogue is good. 2, I mean, the most important are the actors and actresses. They really sell this flick. But 3, one thing I really love about this movie from a technical standpoint is the walrus transformations. Like those scenes, like they're not CGI, which is really weird. Obviously, they didn't have the budget for CGI, so they used all practical effects and made a real walrus suit with a real stunt guy in there. Like wow. Hold on a second. How? That sounds like that can't be done. You know, like a walrus man? Like, how do you make this flick? A walrus man made out of other humans' flesh? Like, what? How is he going to do this? Like, how is he going to show us this walrus?
It is definitely a memorable image and a nice throwback to like the more, I guess, like 70s and 80s kind of horror where it was more about solving problems through ingenuity and just what you can build physically rather than what you can create in a computer later on. So
just one of my all-time favorite genres of film, a subgenre, definitely a subgenre, but you know, a man in a rubber suit or a woman in a rubber suit, like these rubber suit monsters. I love suited monsters. I love these flicks. Like the CGI, like I can't really get into it because it's like it's too real, but it's not real enough. Like it's in this weird kind of void. But a dude in a suit, like I love it. I'm a sucker for it. Like some of my favorite movies, some of my favorite childhood movies, you know, Pumpkinhead. Like that was, you
Oh,
know,
that's a
like
good one. Yeah.
yeah, like that, I mean, I think who's the main actor in that? He's really good.
Lance Henriksen.
Lance Henriksen's in Pumpkinhead. Like fuck. Halloween, you know, some more of my childhood favorites, you know, these movies I watched as a little kid that captured my imagination. You know, Pumpkinhead, you know, Halloween, Godzilla, you know, Godzilla versus King Kong, Godzilla versus, you know, Mecha Godzilla, like these big rubber monster men, you know, Alien, you know, these movies that just really struck home to me as a youngin and inspired me. And this film fits in that genre perfectly. It's a dude in a rubber suit, and they do it really well. I mean, of course, I don't know if it's good. I mean, it's impressive to me. Like, I can't believe it came out the way it did, but like,
you know,
it's like goofy though.
Yeah, it's
like,
silly, but it's also kind of freaky at the same time.
Yeah, because like, dude, like there's a shot. I realized it this viewing. I never noticed it before. I don't know how I never noticed it before, but there's a shot where like the walrus is in the water and Michael Parks is like wading him, like teaching him how to swim. And like I
one of the tender moments, yeah.
Yeah, but just before that or just after that scene, I noticed that on the side of the walrus is like a human face, like so like a part of like like stretched out skin makes up like one of the sides of this walrus, and I was like, that's fucking terrifying. How did I never notice that before? Like a man face, like it's just like sewn into this thing. It's like sort of damn, like it's fucked up.
Yeah, sort of a Texas Chainsaw thing.
Yeah, very and Kevin Smith. And the one thing I laughed and I couldn't believe about it, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is like one of Kevin Smith's all-time favorite movies.
Oh,
like,
really?
He loves that movie. So like, yeah, it's a total kind of throwback to like Leatherface, you know. And I was like, holy shit, that's really cool. And I didn't notice it until this viewing, you know.
Yeah.
So it's just like, wow, holy shit. Like I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah, I have to admit I'm not as big on Kevin Smith as you are. I enjoy his movies.
I don't know if anyone is.
that's okay.
I'm kind of a geek.
Yeah. But yeah, I've always enjoyed his movies. I think he's got some pretty solid work out there. Yeah, Clerks is a 90s Generation X indie classic.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's one of those directors that's built his own sort of specific movie universe that is with these unique, memorable characters that are always fun to visit.
Right.
And yeah, I've certainly enjoyed just about every film of his that I can think of. I wouldn't rank him as one of my favorite directors of all time, but yeah, I've certainly enjoyed his work. And yeah, his last few films I think have been really interesting. Red State was really a turn in a different direction, showed that he could do something, I guess, gritty and edgy and vicious and violent, and really horrifying in a lot of ways. And Tusk is kind of a blend between the two, between like the silly Jay and Silent Bob comedies with bizarre character-driven humor and ridiculousness, but also this more serious side too, that can write these terrific monologues for these powerful performers and create psychological tension and can actually craft a very atmospheric horror film as well. So it's kind of somewhere in between. It's got sort of a Human Centipede feel, and I think that was kind of loosely one of the inspirations here. But I think Tusk is more successful than the Human Centipede movies. It finds that
enjoyable.
Yes, certainly. It finds that balance between humor and horror, I think, much more solidly. It didn't all work for me, you know.
Yeah, what were some of your criticisms? I'm definitely curious to know.
Well, specifically, you know, the third act, with how much it was stretching out, like the Johnny Depp scenes and stuff like that. It started wearing me out a little bit. And that was kind of where I was feeling the material being stretched a little bit.
Right. It definitely feels that way because, I mean, like we said earlier, it could have definitely used 15 minutes less of footage.
Yeah, I would agree with
that third act. I mean, could have been a lot shorter. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with cleaning the end up of this movie really quickly. You tell the story, we get the characters. Let's see the conclusion, man. Like, let's just wham, bam, bam, bam. Like, let's get the pace really picking up and let's close this bitch out. That's kind of how I felt about the end of it. But yeah, anyway, I'm sorry. Going on with your...
No, yeah, that's the way I reacted too. And I guess just other kind of small things. Like I was sort of confused by the Kill Bill kid at first. I thought
Yeah.
it was supposed to be a fake video, but then like it turned out it was real. It just kind of threw me off. I was like, wait a minute, is this supposed to be like a joke video, or is it an actual video?
Well, boy, the
That was
special
like,
effect they used to cut off that kid's leg is really piss poor. I mean,
yeah.
it's like one of the worst effects I think I've ever seen in my life. Like it's
Yeah.
a really bad special effect, and
Yes.
it looks like it's a homemade like joke movie of someone cutting their own leg off on accident.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so,
But I think that just showed like the lack of budget there for sure, like the lack of
yeah.
skill. Whoever did that was definitely new to what they were doing.
Yeah, I think you're right there. And yeah, so I guess it was just one of those moments where, and since it happens at the beginning, I was kind of like, uh-oh, what's this going to be? Is this all just going to be like a silly joke? We got some more water.
It's coming out of buckets.
But I guess it was a moment at the beginning that kind of made me a little bit worried. Like, is this all just going to be a joke, or is this going to, try and be at least up to a point like serious and
Right.
not try like what I felt Kung Fury did, not try to like emphasize the humor or the ridiculousness or the silliness of the concept too much. And luckily, it didn't. Once the story got going, once everything was established, it was like, okay, I'm actually getting into this. I'm getting really invested in this. So it was just kind of like minor things here and there, I guess. And the only really major criticism I have is just that the third act was stretched a little bit too much. The first two acts I thought were pretty solid. The third is where it was kind of like, but I will say at that point, I was watching the movie by myself, and it really is a different experience when you watch it with other people.
Yeah.
My brother came in the last few scenes, Denny, and he started watching it with me. And I found with another person there, you start reacting to the movie a lot more.
Really
You start
do. Because I watched it the first time I watched it, I took it way more serious. When I watched it with Denny, I watched it the second time I've ever seen it. I watched it with Denny, and we were laughing a lot more.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a much more effective and enjoyable movie when you have like someone there, a friend there, or somebody.
Yeah, absolutely.
The more people you have, I think the better this film plays.
Yes.
And I realized that in that last moment when Denny came in, I was like, oh, this is a lot more fun when you watch it with other people.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Still though, it could be shorter, but I mean, yeah, it's when I was watching it with Dana, like I was laughing my ass off. But when I watched it like this time, like, yeah, I was laughing, but I was like, damn, I just was taking it way more serious. I was really looking at it like through a different kind of scope.
Yeah. But I mean, whatever criticism I have, it's for me, it really wasn't enough to destroy my enjoyment of the movie.
Right.
And it was, I found, even though if we want to bring up the tomato meter as we usually do in this.
Oh boy, yeah. Hit me with it. Can I take a guess? Can I take a gander?
Sure.
Let's say 47%.
Pretty close, actually.
What was it?
41%.
Ooh, okay, got it. 41%.
Yeah, you were in the ballpark. And the consensus reads, Tusk is pleasantly ridiculous and charmingly self-deprecating, but that isn't enough to compensate for its thin, overstretched story. Which, you know what? This isn't a film.
Not the meanest thing anyone's ever said about Tusk.
Yeah. Which, it's not a film for everybody, so I can understand that. But for me, there was definitely enough here to make the experience of watching the film definitely worthwhile.
Yes, I agree. I really totally agree. That's
and again, it's just one. I kind of wrote this down as like one of the last notes. But it's kind of a movie that whatever works or doesn't work in it, just the fact that it's different. It's really different, and it stands out, and it represents a filmmaker really boldly trying something. They're not sure if it's going to work or not, but it's just the excitement of trying something new and different is enough to push them into it. I think that's kind of, I don't think I really effectively conveyed this when we talked about Sucker Punch, but that was kind of the same way I reacted to Sucker Punch. I think Sucker Punch is a less successful movie than Tusk, but Sucker Punch to me represents a filmmaker, Zack Snyder in this case, just thinking like, I have this wild, crazy idea. I'm not entirely sure if it's going to work, but let's try it. Let's try something really different. And, Zack Snyder, of course, he's just doing DC stuff now. It's kind of like just repetitions of old ideas. And
Right.
maybe he does that well. I know a lot of people would disagree with me,
Yeah.
but I would rather see, even if maybe something like Man of Steel is a more solid movie than Sucker Punch, I would rather see him doing these weird,
Yes,
bizarre,
I agree with you.
risky, original ideas
Yeah.
like that, rather than just doing, another version of Superman,
Well,
another version of Batman.
it's funny you say that because it also makes me think of a movie that you and I saw recently together that I wasn't really crazy of, but now when I think back on it, I'm enjoying it more, which I don't know if that means it's a good movie or if it just means I'm getting softer. But and it's funny because I have a really hard time remembering the name of this movie, but I never think about the name. I don't know why, but
Is it The Bad Batch?
it was The Bad Batch.
All right.
I'm glad that you were picking up on that. The more I think about the movie, I think just randomly throughout the day, I'll be like eating my like tuna fish sandwich at lunch, and like I'll just be hit with like, oh shit, like Jason Momoa. I always call him
Mimosa.
Jason Momoa. I always call him that. Jason Momoa. He was kind of cool in that movie. Like that was kind of dope. Like those cannibals out there in the desert, and then like like maybe a couple hours later, I'll be like wiping my ass or something or pulling up my pants. I'll be like, Keanu Reeves was pretty good in The Bad Batch, wasn't he? Like he was pretty good in that, huh? And like I don't know, like I'll be going to bed, like I'll just got done like watching porn or something. I'll be like sitting in my bed. I'm like, man, Jim Carrey was pretty cool in that movie, wasn't he? Like Jim Carrey was pretty good in The Bad Batch. Like
This is a pretty intimate glimpse into your life.
I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just some insight. Like I mean, I don't know. The more and more sometimes I think about some things, like the more and more I enjoy them. Like my first reaction of Bad Batch, I would watch it again. I thought it was okay. I wasn't blown away by it, but I was like, this is pretty all right. Kind of wish some things were different. But now, as I think about it more, I will really want to watch it again all of a sudden and see if I like it more. But with Tusk, I the main reason I want to talk about Tusk, and I've been wanting to talk about Tusk, and I try to tell as many people this as I can that they should revisit this movie. I really think they should, because the first time you see it, like I don't really think you kind of know how to take it and how to appreciate it and all that. But I think if you saw it again, definitely with a friend or maybe with a couple beers or maybe a joint, I think that just a repeated viewing, you don't have to be fucked up to enjoy this movie, but it helps. I don't know. I just feel like repeated viewings are good. You should revisit some
Yeah.
things. And one thing about Mega Movie Monday is like, I think one theme with all these films is definitely something to revisit here. There's something to rewatch about, or if you see, like, for example, Sucker Punch is the first time I ever saw it. Tusk was the first time you ever saw it. Like, so they're both new to us, but I mean, also at the same time, they're revisits for the opposite person. So I think it's really healthy to go back and just rethink some things. And Tusk, this movie is criminally underrated. It's really underrated, I think. And I think a 41% is pretty low. But who the fuck cares about a tomato? I mean, it's your life. Watch a movie, sit down. It's an hour and 47 minutes. Find the time. The only problem is it is hard to come by. So I'll send you a copy if you need one. Just email me your address. But it's like I think you should revisit Tusk. I have some more notes here and some more stuff we could definitely go over if you want. But it's like I think that the main reason I want to talk about this movie is revisit it, rewatch it. And if you haven't seen it yet, don't just listen to what critics are saying, or don't just think like, oh, I didn't really like his last couple movies, so I shouldn't revisit this. This is a filmmaker who's trying to inspire people and show that you can do whatever you want as long as you just don't give up. And I think that is a really great message, and one that I really identify with, and I know our group can really identify with. Do as much as you can with whatever it is you have. Don't just stop, don't just quit, don't just give up. Go out there and take a risk and tell your story, because if it's good, if it's worth telling, you could just maybe make one person's life better. You could maybe inspire one more person, maybe speak to one more person, and that's all it takes. And that's definitely something that Kevin Smith has been to me. Just one person showing like, hey, get your ass out there and do it. Time is short. Life is precious. You want to do something? Go do it, man. Because look, all these critics, have torn me apart, like my last few flicks, and I don't have all the money in the world and all this stuff. And like, I was really, really fat and I got thrown off an airplane. So I was kind of like a national stooge for that. I mean, global stooge, but I didn't stop. I kept going. Like I took it in stride. I made light of it. That's one thing. I read an interview with him in the New York. It was the New York something or other. I don't think it was the New York Times, but he said like that's when I got really scared about my life, was when I couldn't take things lightly anymore, when I couldn't make fun of things anymore.
Yeah.
When I started taking the criticism really serious, I took it really personal. You know, these people bullying me online, I couldn't make fun of it anymore. And that's when I wanted to retire. That's when I was done and I didn't want to do anything anymore. I just wanted to stay holed up in my house and watch my favorite movies and smoke weed and just die. Like, so for me, that's really inspiring, you know, because it's like people can be gross and they can criticize your work really rudely and they might not understand it. But I think a big part of why I love doing this show so much and how Tusk falls into all this is it's worth revisiting. It's worth rewatching. It's, you know, people could say a lot of bad things about something, but you should still just check it out for yourself, you know, because maybe your friend in Tijuana wants to invite you to a donkey show and that might not really be your thing, but you should at least just peek inside because you might enjoy what you see. So just be daring, be bold, you know, don't just listen to what everyone else is doing. Just
I don't know about that daring.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just fucking with you. I mean, but it's like, you know, if your friend, you know, wants to say, hey, dude, there's this crazy ass movie about this guy who gets turned into a walrus by another crazy guy. What are you doing tonight? Like, let's fucking watch it.
I think there's definitely an audience for a film like this. And I think, there are plenty of people out there that would really enjoy Tusk. And I certainly enjoyed it. I had my criticisms, but I certainly did enjoy watching it. And I'm just glad that there are filmmakers out there that no matter what wild idea they had, these are the kinds of films that really ignite my passion about filmmaking and cinema. You know, just a wild idea that someone has and they actually have the daring and the gall to go out there and pull it off. And you're right, I do find that inspiring.
It's incredibly inspiring.
And Tusk is a fun movie, so if you haven't seen it, I do recommend it. And if you have seen it and maybe you didn't really enjoy it, I think it's worth going back, taking another look. There's stuff in here, real film to bite into.
That's a perfect summary. I think it's a perfect, that was poetry to me.
Okay.
I wrote down some other little shit, just some little lines and blurbs that came into my head. I'm just going to read them out. We don't have to respond to them, but just to get it out of my head. Gets really twisted in the wheelchair scene, darkly comical. The big reveal at dinner was really high with tension, very well done. Such a ridiculous concept taken so seriously, but handled so well. It's too goofy to exist, but it does. One of my favorite lines in the movie I wrote down is, "Man, truly a walrus at heart."
Yeah.
That was a great line. And just, Michael Park's monologues are all excellent. Wally's girlfriend's she has a monologue that she gives directly to the camera where she starts crying and bawling. I thought that was really, really well done. Pretty cool.
Just another moment of Smith just saying like, "Hey, you're a great actress. Like, let's just give you this monologue
just
to
roll.
do."
Just keep going. And then there's definitely something here that I've seen in Kevin Smith's career. He started a charity organization to help sexually abused children and just abused children kind of help them like get out of their environments. It's called the Gotham City Foundation. And Michael Parks delivers a monologue of kind of how he got so fucked up, saying that he was, abused as a child by everyone,
right.
Not just sexually, but he was in an orphanage. And then the priests and stuff were not good to him, and even the night guard wasn't good, and none of the nurses, like, they were all abusive and terrible to him. And I thought that was like, it's not too often that like a character in a film says why they're all fucked up. Like Hannibal Lecter, like in Silence of the Lambs, he doesn't really explain why it's all fucked up. All the other characters kind of say why. And they're totally wrong about it anyways, because like you can't get into that dude's mind. But in this film, Michael Parks is, as he's sewing Justin Long's hands to his side to make fins, he's just saying like, I'm pretty much doing this because, God, I'm pretty fucked up. Like he's just going off like this checklist of stuff that happened to him, and it's like, it's comical and it's funny, but it's really heartbreaking too at the same time. The only person who ever showed him any kindness ever was a walrus, and he killed that walrus to like survive. So it's like, it's this crazy ass theme, but Kevin really makes it work.
Again, and then, it's just the goofiest idea, but he really uses his imagination and tries to dig into it. Like, let's go for it. Let's try and really sell this crazy thing.
Oh man, I think it's very well done. And I don't know, hopefully more people see this movie and give it a shot because it's worth watching. I promise you. And if you don't think it's worth watching, if you've already seen it, check it out again. Relax this time. Don't go in expecting Silence of the Lambs or some other crazy shit. Like, just go into it and just watch it and experience it and be honest with yourself. Just because it doesn't have a huge budget or a bunch of special effects or really huge name actors. Like, I mean, Johnny Depp's in it, but barely.
Yeah, it's not like Johnny Depp's in it.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's like, but at the same time, they don't make that really known, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. It doesn't rely on that. But it's like, you know, yeah, it's not a mainstream movie, but be honest with yourself. It's okay to like things that aren't normal. It's okay to like things that aren't like everything else. So I don't know.
Be adventurous. Be curious. Be adventurous.
Peek into that Tijuana donkey show.
Yeah.
But real though, legal disclaimer, don't do that.
Yeah.
No, we did not tell you to do that. That was a joke.
Okay, so feel good about that?
Do I feel good about that? Yeah. Watch it. It's fun. I love Kevin Smith. I love his movies. Tusk is awesome. My final verdict, Walrus, yes.
Walrus, yes. Okay. So I think that about wraps up another episode of Mega Movie Monday.
Mega Movie Monday. Even though it's not on Monday, it's a day that ends with Y, and that's all that effing matters.
That's right. Yeah.
I edit myself. I censor myself right at the end. Effing. Yeah, come on. But
yeah. So I've been disregarding Henry.
And I've been Felix Milan from Film School Failure.
Yeah, and you can check out Felix's channel in the link for the description for the video.
One video, and it's my most successful yet.
And hopefully we see more from you in the future. I'm hoping that'll be the case.
We'll see.
And yeah, you can subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Check out my other videos. I do my live streams every Saturday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, where I just talk about movies and whatever else. So come hang out there. And yeah, thank you for watching another episode of our show. We enjoy it. Hope you enjoy it too.
Yes, definitely enjoy it. So yeah, we'll be back in a couple days, hopefully.
Yes, more Halloween.
More Halloween. All right.
Favorite
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.